بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الحمد لله رب العالمين، والصلاة والسلام على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه أجمعين. وعن جابر بن عبد الله رضي الله عنهما قال: نهى النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيع فضل الماء، وزاد في رواية: وعن بيع ضراب الجمل. So Jabir radiallahu anhu narrated the Prophet alayhi salatu wasalam prohibited to sell the excess of water, and that applies to the common property. Let's say someone finds a well of water somewhere in a farm outside his property, meaning. So you cannot just keep it. You use what you use, and you cannot prevent other people from using it. And that applies, this is a very common scenario in our countries actually, where a river passes through your farm, your own property. So you can use it for irrigation, but you cannot just block it and prevent others from using it. The Prophet ﷺ also in a different hadith said, الناس شركاء في ثلاث: الماء والكلأ والنار. So people share three different properties. This is the water, the grass, and the fire. So no one can prevent others from using these three things. Say like finders, keepers, I find it, no one else can use it. But if it was his own water, let's say he bought it or he acquired it, put it in a tank, in a reservoir, then that's a different story, then he can sell it. Is that clear? وفي رواية وعن بيع ضراب الجمل. We'll talk about this in a second إن شاء الله. قال: وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما قال: نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن عسب الفحل. It's very clear. So this ties to the first hadith, وعن ضراب الجمل. So the Prophet ﷺ in this hadith, so we're talking about the different prohibited types of sales transactions and what you can trade with and what you cannot trade with. So Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam prevented any transaction that is ambiguous, that is uncertain. This is what they call al-gharar, meaning uncertain, deceptive trade. You don't know what you're buying, you don't know what you're selling. And this is one example where when they would mate the camels, basically, ضراب الجمل, someone would say, okay, I'm gonna lease your camel for one time so they can mate with my she camels, basically. So the Prophet ﷺ said this is prohibited. Why? Because you don't know if it's gonna happen or not. Right? وعسب الفحل, الفحل meaning the male camel, basically. This is the semen, basically. So, and scholar said you can lease it for, let's say I want to lease it for 1 week, okay? But you say, okay, I'm just going to have it to mate, with naqa, with she camel. That is not allowed because you don't know if this is truly going to happen or not, right? Similarly, part of the bay' al-gharar, meaning the deceptive trade. قال: وعن ابن عمر رضي الله عنهما أن رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم نهى عن بيع حبل الحبلة، وكان بيعا يتبايعه أهل الجاهلية. كان الرجل يبتاع الجزور إلى أن تنتج الناقة ثم تنتج التي في بطنها. So what they did during the Jahiliyyah, also someone would come to a camel and she's pregnant. And he says, okay, there are two types that are prohibited here. You give me money or you buy something from them and say, okay, I'll pay you when she gives birth. So that's the first aspect, right? So this is unknown. You know, if you want to give her, say, I'm going to pay you back in 3 months, in 6 months, in 9 months. But what if the, you know, she, you know, we don't know how much longer she's pregnant, right? 3 months, 6 months, or if the conception comes out stale or dead, right? Or the second form, say, I'm going to buy from you what she gives birth to. And they would do it for 3 generations, that even when that conception is born and she gets pregnant again and she gives birth again. So 3 generations they would sound like, okay, I'm going to buy the lineage basically. So that is not allowed, because what if it wasn't a female, was a male, for example? And what if it was sick? So all these things that were common in Jahiliyyah were prohibited by the Prophet ﷺ. And that shows you anything that is uncertain in its amount, in its timeline, that is also prohibited. That falls under gharar. And that's, a lot of people still do these things nowadays. You know, they say, okay, I'm gonna, sell me what your farm gives. You know, there are going to be specific hadith about this, whatever, half of your farm will produce, I'm going to buy it. You cannot do that, right? Because it is uncertain, and that only one person is gonna win, basically, right? Usually with a transaction, there are 2 winners, the seller and the buyer. Everyone, acquires what they want. And the gharar, one of them is going to be deceived, basically, because what if it was over what was expected? This is cheating and wronging the seller. And if it was under, it is the buyer, right? So it has to be fair for both parties. And the last hadith also that falls under the same category. قال وعن أبي هريرة رضي الله عنه قال نهى رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم عن بيع الحصاة وعن بيع الغرر. So the Prophet عليه الصلاة والسلام has made forbidden, prohibited بيع الحصاة. We're going to talk about it in a second. And bay' al-gharar, any transaction that is uncertain, that could be deceptive due to ambiguity, basically. When there is anything uncertain aspect of it, it is prohibited. In this example, the pagans would do, they were creative as we, people creative now. So he would, present his products, his commodities, and you say, okay, throw a stone, and whatever you hit, you get it. And this is something we do now, right? When there is a wheel, and whatever you hit, you buy, right? You pay $10, you pay $50, and there could be some products that are more expensive, and some are very cheap. So for the seller, if you average it, he's always going to be a winner, because the number of the products is going to average at a certain price, let's say $12 a product. But they will price it as $20 because the buyer is going to be hoping, wishing that I'm going to get the one for $30, right? And I'm just going to get it much cheaper. So this is sort of gambling, basically. So even the pagans did it. People still do it these days, with games and with... everyone has done it, right? So this is prohibited because also that is gambling, and gambling is part of gharar as well. وصلى الله على سيدنا محمد وعلى آله وصحبه وسلم.
To clarify though, with games you're not paying anything. So that's not a transaction.
If you're not paying, that there is no, yeah. But some games you pay actually, right?
You know, in the stock market, there's a lot of speculations.
Yeah.
That
That is also US. Stock market also in the US. It is, nobody knows.
That's a different story. I mean, yeah, we will talk about stock market in a different, inshallah, session, inshallah. But it is allowable, sort of.
Well, not the whole stock market, the
Yeah.
things that are based on speculation. It's
Right.
allowed.
So that's why the futures, the options, especially, these are haram in the stock market. But just buying, I'm just gonna go buy XYZ stock because it seems good and it's gonna appreciate, then that's okay. But doing the margin trades, the options, the futures, the bonds, all these things, that's not haram transactions.
Sheikh, buying a vehicle from an auction as is, like sometimes they run a vehicle in the auction that, you can buy as it is. Does this fall into the same category?
Yes, it does. Anything else?